Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you can hear me fine. My name is Ben, Clothier, and I'll be here as a lecturer. I'm a deaf man, and I'll be talking through a sign language interpreter. So you will hear a voice for me.
And the kids are trying to use the
So if you have questions, you say, oh, something's not clear, please go ahead and type that in the comments and ask me anything. Feel free to, anytime, and I will be happy to explain things to just make sure everything's clear. So this conference, our meeting, it's a demonstration. We're going to show you how to use Git, also with Access. And maybe you've done that before, right? You've used different products, ACC, or maybe Visual, Source, Space, or maybe CSS. There's so many different ones that you've used. And maybe some aren't always as popular, say as Northwind or compared to Git. And it's kind of a challenge too, right? Because people who, if they use Git, it's a whole different code. And ACC, we may use that to solve some conflict, but it's also checking Git to make sure that the file is right, checking that, making sure it's locked, it's protected, and look at the protected file, and then make sure that Git will go. But sometimes it's awkward. You don't, nothing's as smooth as Git. So Git's idea and their philosophy is that it's a branch. You're merging. And here, I'll give you some examples, and I'll show you how we have branches, how we merge with Git, and I'll show you how. We have two products for Access. The first one is free. It's called Git. It's a downloaded thing. It's called the Turtle. I'll show you.
I wish he'd turn up his lights because it's hard to see him.
And most of the time, if you click on that for Windows, it'll activate that for the Git, and Git will respond. And it'll be nice to use that, but sometimes it's hard. When you're asking it, you're typing it and saying respond, and you can go ahead and see that, but you don't always see the response. And it's running, but again, I will show you that. I will demonstrate that for you. The other product is not free. You do have to buy that. It's called OASIS, and I'll show you that.
Ask him if he can turn the light on. Oh.
So in Germany, there's a man who created that, and he added that for himself. It costs about $50 or so. There's a license that you have to buy. So that's a good product that you can use. It's not perfect. There's so many different tests that we've done, and it's a good one to use, but it's not necessary. The reason is that there's two different products is because the Access code itself is not the best format to use with Git. Because Git, it's a text-based file. And you don't always get the access in that with Git. So usually it's not. And so sometimes, just to compare with both, the history that we have, you can take the history, all of the logged in information, and that becomes a Git file. And then Git can go ahead and look at that, and you can show and modify through that. So we'll start with a demonstration. What I'm going to do first, I'll be making a new program. I'll make it from scratch, and we'll make a new Git program. It's called a Git repo. So I'll be using Northwind because it's easier. it's a running program, and it also has its own format. There's responses, there's logs, and the code to extract. And so I'll show that, how to extract. Now first, before I do anything, I need to I'll first have to configure the program. Project. Because with itself, it depends on, well, it depends on the whole source. You have to transfer that over. So let me show you this. So there's a wizard there, but honestly, I don't use that. I prefer to set up things because I like to be able to control everything and make it as exact as I need it to be. If you'd like to use that, you can go ahead with that. But I like to do it automatically or manually instead of things. So I will see that once you set up that, I will show you this. It's where the path is. And that's where the source is too. So you check that, you turn it on. You have to give it a new name. Now I'd rather use a file from today for the path. So what I do is I make the path and I make sure that it has a book and it has history so I can be able to load that. So I'll click OK. When I go back to the actual where the book is, I'll make the file. So I'll make a new file, and that's OASIS. Now, it's not the only EML that I'll be using. So I'll set everything up based on the project, and that's important for that because even when I start the project and the program, for Git, I'll need to have OASIS. I'll need to have an OASIS file so that they're the same name. So it's connected to the access. So I'll be able to manage both.
You okay? You're doing great, so just tell me when you're tired.
All right, so now that we have OASIS, we're going to go ahead and set up the whole thing. Now we have the other options. So the reason why I open that and I set that up is because when I go in and out of the program, when I set up everything, sometimes I don't always have OASIS file. When I haven't made that, so then all of the things that I've made, the controls and the managing that, it doesn't get saved. So I need to do that first. And then I can go ahead and modify it and change it, and then that will save all those changes. So I've got that. I've got the options for the objects, and all different kinds of objects. And I don't have to check everything. Now with the old ADP, you don't have to use that anymore. So I can recheck that. And that's getting, it's better. Now we can see that. Now we can schedule some options. So that's very interesting because most of the time we don't know what our data is in Git. It doesn't always make sense to send the whole thing, all of our customers, all of that into Git because that access code is only what we have logged. And most of the time with the source code and all of that, it's the structure and the foundation. And that's not data. Except if we have something that we're using, so we have a source code, and then we know like how to configure, right? We configure, or we have a system that we need to save, we have preferences. So those kind of things, we need to go ahead and save that. That's saved data. And it's not really data, but it is source code, and so I'll go ahead and check data. So if you can check that in the situation, you'll see that you'll use like an upgraded or advanced, an advanced. Then you can pick what you want to graph and what you want to put in the system. Now, if it really is data, then you can go ahead and uncheck that, because we're only saving what's structured, not data. So you check all those things except the one part that says program source code, because that depends on the regular information. So check that. Can you guys, are you guys doing okay? Can you hear? I want to make sure everyone can hear me. Okay, all right, so it seems that one person says they cannot hear me, so maybe, I guess, I'll make sure everyone's okay, that you can hear me clearly. Apologize for that. All right, so let's continue. So for our program, you can hit run or data, any of those. So the next part that we're doing is we're going to set everything up.
It's on half moon, but it's on full.
Can you check this? And it says prioritize
File.
the file. So you have a form, and the reason for that is because that will help, I guess, lessen all of the conflict. So when you have the repo and you have that file, sometimes it adds other things like check, so the check done, it won't have that, or there's other modifications that it won't have there, and so it causes Git to think that there has been a change, but there hasn't been a change. So it's just behind because of all of the kind of the fake checks and all of the source code. So there's like a fake check saying it's not a response, so it kind of gets sticky in that moment. And the reason is because the response is that you're trying to save the printer information. So we're using default printer. And maybe, there won't be a problem with that. Now, it'll depend on the specific printer. So for me, I've got one that says printer, one that says
back something.
Back there for the printer, and that will inform me which will it be for that response. So if you check respond, prioritize, and then you delete that for the printer, then it won't actually work because it looks like you've messed up the source and the printer, and the printer won't respond. So go ahead and make sure that's checked. Finger spelling. Okay.
Now don't check that because you have to be sure that they're compatible. If you have a team that's perhaps adding different information with accessibility, it really won't matter either way. It won't be that important there, but check it. But sometimes, not always, I tend to have it be standardized for access, so there won't be any problems, and it'll still be accurate. My preference is what I have here listed. What you can see is how I've checked it.
Mm-mm. spell that?
In the split of the form. I'll split that for the report. Which then means the layout and the information will be a separate file. I'll demonstrate that later, so you'll have that.
Source.
I also like to make sure I check Control S, which is important that is checked, because that assists me as well when I'm saving. So anytime I do an activity and I modify it, then I go ahead with the source, and then I automatically
For the split.
work with the split so that the change continues and the information is still there. If I'm satisfied, then I close it. And hopefully you've understood how this part of the functionality works on this program.
To configure.
To configure it. But it's not in the script. So then I'm going to go ahead and do the split.
And how are we going to do the whole thing? We're going to do the whole thing now.
We're going to try and do the whole thing. I'm going to demonstrate here. It'll make the text here and the path, but I'm going to open it up for you, so watch me demonstrate that. Let's see if the layout and
The source
the source
is correct.
is correct. There are two files you should see now. The split of the information and whether or not you should save the script, the source rather, as well as the two of them together, whether you think it's difficult on the eyes or you prefer to split them, seeing easier visibility and working to modify them. So there are opportunities that you can do and have visibility there. But overall, you have history that you can also look at, which is very helpful, and I'm going to show you that. Now we've accomplished this so far. Now, do we save it? We haven't gotten to the Git part yet, right? So we're not going to do
The repository.
the repository because we need to still make the repository now. So I will do that. Right-click, and you'll notice their turtle comes up to help you along. It has all the information there. And I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate by making that. Watch this. We say OK. And without the information, I'm still going to confirm. And then I'm going to click Yes, confirm. Git requires the use of an email. And in my situation right now, I don't have Gable, but each program, you'll have your preferences with an email that maybe delineates a project one from the other. Let me show you what I mean here. And we'll also click OK. Now you see the confirmation there on the screen. Git requires also that you make the necessary changes, and then at the bottom there, the information in the file will then be added. So you click all, make sure that's checked. Right. Good job. So you'll check save. You'll confirm. And now you should have success with the source in the Git file. Now this demonstration, mind you, is just, it's not as easy as it looks. You still have to use the internet. And you should have a GitHub, if I'm not mistaken, saved. If not, Azure, you can use Azure.
Depose. Depose.
Depose. There are also other varieties, but just when you're working off the local particular source, those would be the two recommendations. Now with Turtle allows you to demonstrate, for example, there are colors, there are areas you can check off to make sure and then save in the boxes there that you see on the screen. And then you can make those changes. Now, going back to the file. Remember, this demonstration, I'm using two distinct differences in programs here.
Oh, that is. Pretend.
What I'm presenting now. So compared to we've got developer number 1 and 2. They are separate entities in this demonstration. Number 1 is blank. So I have to then, as a developer, copy from OASIS, and then email, if you like, either way. And the purpose for that is because I've already got the information set up and I need to make sure that that's prepared. And I also have to inform the developer where to locate my Git file. Or I have to give them the URL or the path, one or the other. Or if I make this new repository here, for example. But it's not the time now. We have to use a clone because as a developer, they're going to depend on what I do and copy that information. They have to be similar. So in order to do that,
I'll pick clone.
I'll pick clone, as you can see on the screen. And you see the URL or a path, either one. It's quote unquote, it's the master is what I'm actually referring you to. It's the actual master. So then the developer will have their own cloned copy as well. Then the next step, as you see me working here, you can see through the demonstration the source, and then I go back to make another project from the source. Then we close it. here. Now, we've developed number 1. I don't have mine. I haven't started yet, right? I don't have that file. So then what I'm going to do, watch this. With OASIS, do you see that here? You'll choose to make a new project from this. You click yes. Then you type the same name in OASIS for this file that you're going to generate. OASIS will notice the file, the project, and all of the source, and it will transfer to my file. Then you choose the path and take it to the first developed project.
Yeah, in repository.
In the repository. I know it may seem a bit confusing as you try to muddle through some of the steps, but access.
The birch? Oh, gosh, what is it? Huh? Biffy, it looks like.
I'm trying to think of the name of what I want. The Git file. It has access to this Git file, which the Git will then transfer. OASIS now does not have the Git, and you won't need to use that. You're just going to focus right now on transferring the information to and fro from that file to the Git file, and they will go alternate between one and the other. So let me demonstrate here where we're talking about saving the Git file.
Can I keep going? Are you good? You good? Keep going.
Now we've got the source here. It's satisfactory. We also want to focus on project 1 though. And if we say we want to modify it or add something new to the file, to the module, this is what we do. Okay, now I'm going to add to it right here in the demonstration.
Just time to switch. We'll see how long it goes. Right, really quick that.
What's the acronym?
Oh, no.
For? I'll make it simple. I'm going to save. Now you see that it's saved, so when it comes up again, you will see that we have success that it's still there. Automatically exporting the changes, and I'll demonstrate that to you right here. And there it is. You see the new file come up? It hasn't been saved in the Git, mind you. It's only, if you will, the work, like, say for example, you're working on a project and you want to modify it, but you haven't done all the work, you haven't saved it yet, but you have to still confirm this way. Watch. In Turtle, now it's asking to make confirmation that you want to make that change. And because I was working on developing number 1 and they're separate, I have to repeat myself here. You can use global if you like to set it up, or whatever your preference may be on this part here. Now you see at the bottom, before we had all of that source, now you have one file that you've done the modifications to, and say you want to add something new to it. You then go and demonstrate in this way. This is what you would then do for the demonstration. Watch this. I hit confirm, yes. I say, yes, I want to confirm. And if I'm confirming, then I want to save it, and that's the developed project 1. Whereas the second developer hasn't been done yet. We're not sharing with this one yet. This is just historical. If it's under Turtle, however, the Turtle program, you'll see it show
the log.
The log.
And I showed that. There's a file. I made it from the first one. I commit that, and it's in that repo. Later, I'll copy that and put that in Developer 1 repo. Right, compared to the history, yes. There's this repo. You see the two histories. You've got that history and that one. And it hasn't been gone to the main one yet. We're still putting that together. So when I hit confirm, that will be saved, but it's only to the local repo. You save that. Now what is pretty cool about that is when you develop one thing, you can do a lot of modifications. You can go and do whatever you want. And if you made something wrong, you made a mistake, you can go back. It's not like you mess up the whole thing, all of that, the master list and all of that. You can change and modify and do whatever you want there. And once you're satisfied with that, that's exactly what I want, it works, then you can go ahead and push that and put that to the next one. So that'll be ready. So what I'm going to do with that with Developer 1, I'll go ahead and push. And I'll close both. So I did the push, see that word, and it's copied all of my modifications in the local repo to that one, to the main. Now one thing I want to make sure I make this clear is that on the remote, when it says origin, that's not a unique name. It's just a very common name for that. So we want to kind of say this is a good kind of compromise to say that's one part of it. And some people will use the word bless. Or there's other people will use the word
reposition.
Reposition, but there's different words you can make. And so I'll use the word remote. It's a default kind of thing. for or the word origin. So I click OK, and it hasn't gone through yet. You can see that when you analyze it, one sec, let me show you. So I'm going to check. I think I did something wrong. One sec. Okay, I did that right. Yeah, I was in the right place. Okay, so you can see the URL. You see that was set up. It's gone to the main. I'm still checking. So if I did have an error, what I would do, I would go ahead and check my, and I'll look into history to show what has changed. Okay, so I had one off. I was wrong on that one. So because of that, I hit commit. So I will go ahead and try to see what I can do to solve that problem. One sec. So I hit check. All right, so what I did when I went to go ahead and transfer that, I had a different branch there. And so that was the same with the main branch. So if I look at this, there's a code, but where's the code? Okay, now I notice that. So with the new one that I added, that one's gone. Because when I transferred that, and I had a branch, and so I have to do that again and do the repo. All right. Okay, I want to make sure I checked on that. So that was successful. Now I'm going to try and go ahead and push that. so I'll try and push that to the remote one. I'm going to go ahead and check on something. My apologies. All right, so what it said is that it sounded like there's some background noise. So if you guys could all put everything on mute, I'm hearing some background noise. Can you guys mute yourself? All right, let's continue. So I see an error that I have, and I notice what I need to do is actually go backwards and use the GitHub and replace that. So let's start over. So I cleared everything, and now we're going to start from scratch. So I've made a new GitHub. I'll go ahead and copy that. I'll clone, but
I'll clone, but I won't make.
But I won't make that. So that was good. All right, did that. So when I clone the GitHub, it probably will ask me to go ahead. Yep, it's asking me to go ahead and sign in. Perfect. All right, that works. So now I'm going to go ahead and push all of that script of the source again. All right. So I've done all of that.
Oh, he knows.
All right, so what we're doing now is with the Windows, we have other options here to get access. If you transfer and you go over to Windows, what you're trying to use, you have the Turtle program. You'll see a list there. You can go ahead and commit, and then if there's some problems there when you get into Access, you can go ahead and click on that. Also, there'll be the same kind of response, and you'll see respond.
You good? Yeah, because he's been sitting there doing nothing for a little bit.
All right, also, what I said before, when you hit commit, it'll save all of the things that are in the local GitHub. The GitHub doesn't have everything. So I'll go ahead and go back to the GitHub. That might be blank. So it's still blank. There's nothing new sourced there yet. So I'm going to go ahead and push. And also remember, when you commit to the local repo only and you push, you're sharing with the other one. So I'll click pass. And hopefully that'll work now. Perfect, it worked. So now we can see that. We'll go back to the GitHub. Now there's the source all there in GitHub. Great, awesome, that worked. So now let's go ahead and now the developer number 1 will do that. So I'll give that over. And again, I'll make a new Git repo just there in that local repo, separate from mine. So those are 2 different local areas. And I'll use clone again. One thing that I want to mention about path is that I like to use the other figure, and when I use the source, it doesn't have to be exact, it can be more general, but I just want to make sure that they're split. So when you have 2 different books, you can use that code and it'll be separate from the actual access, what you're changing there. So let's have a pause. Someone says they're still hearing background noise. One sec, there's a comment. All right, would you mind, can you all make sure you're on mute? Can everyone mute? I'm just looking at the comments. Okay, but you guys can all hear me clear, right? I mean, is the noise still there? Do you still hear the background noise? If you still hear the noise, go ahead and make some comments, please. All right, looks like there was just some background noise from the interpreter, maybe. No, the other interpreter, I was just clarifying, the other interpreter's on mute. There's nothing there. How's that? Is that better? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. Appreciate that. All right, let's keep going. So with developer 1, we have not saved anything, no modifications yet for developer 1, because they're making a new repo. What I need to do is export again. So we export it. So let's go ahead and confirm again. Wrong option, one sec. Okay. So with Turtle program, there's 3 different options that's listed. It's pretty easy. There's one that's a very quick save, one's our commit, and one is the push. So there's different actions that we've done. We've done 2 separate actions, and what I've been using to do is I merge it that way. So let's go ahead and confirm push. Once that's done, I've pushed, and all of the modifications have been pushed as well. So if you see modifications there in the path GitHub, so you will see the new commit. That will show up. That's good. Now I'm looking at my file. And that's running. We're just waiting for the file. Perfect. So we can see that. And now again, it's not the main yet. I haven't done that. It's only the local repo. So see, we haven't seen anything there yet, which means is that we need to pull now. Pull the GitHub to make sure everything's caught up with all of the modifications that are committed there. So now I'm pulling. And you see that. You see the origin. Remember that from the GitHub. We will pull. Now there's a new file, and that's finally showed up, so that's good. Now, question though, do we have access to that file? Do we have it? Let's see. Not that one, we have the other one. Yes, that's right. So nothing there for developer 1, and that's why we need to transfer that, put that in there. So that's where it helps us to export. To input. That's what I meant. That's right, for developer 1. Now we could use, one moment. So that's where the file is, and that's developer 1. It's in there. It's in my local repo there. So now with my local and the developer 1, we catch up to both of them. Also, I'd like to show you more of the basics, right? So how to confirm, how to pull, those different options. Now, what we haven't shown, I haven't shown you yet, is how to do conflict solutions. So I'll be making a number 1. This is developer number 2. Now I'm kind of cheating. I'm copying the file to make that run for developer 2. So I'm going to clone. So I made the new one. That's the repo from the GitHub. So I have the whole source there. That's good. So with developer 2, let me go back one sec. There it is, right, for developer 2. So I open a new one, that's developer 2. So this is developer 2, but this, remember we've done the modifications in number 1 for source, developer 1. So I modified the language, I've got the code there, done the modifications. I go ahead and save, and I do it again. I make sure it's saved. You'll see that it's successfully exported, and that's done. Hopefully you all are following me so far, as I'm doing developer developer number 2. We've just done developer 1. So I will commit, and that's it. I'll show you. So now we're going to developer 1 again. There we go. Yep. Back to developer 1. So I can see developer 1. There's modifications. I'll do actions. I'll do all of that in the same line. When I modify, I change, I add things, and then I go ahead and commit the changes. Now this time, I will commit and push.
You want to switch?
So when I push, and I do the path for the GitHub, I've caught up all that with developer 1, and with developer 2, it already has their own local commit. We haven't committed it yet. It hasn't caught up with the GitHub. So if I go to the GitHub now, we can look at that. I can see that I have all of the developer 1, all of those changes are saved.
Now you can see the GitHub here, and the changes to the developer 1. Now let's take a look and see comparatively to developer 2 and see if it's been pushed successfully. And there's some errors. It was unsuccessful. Look. Now, good thing it was in the Git. It's trying to prevent the activity because something was damaged in the modification. And it's trying to merge, but until the conflict is resolved, it won't. So you have a chance to pull developer 2, but if there's an error there and it's trying to push, it won't be accurate. Until the modifications are complete, you have to first do the pulling, and then my local will catch up with the ladder, and then it will push successfully to merge. But first, I have to catch up in order for them to have success in merge. So we're in the pull status right now. And if I have a concern and feel maybe I've lost some of the modifications, you won't have lost them. You'll still have opportunity to review, and I'll demonstrate that here in a second. You see where the conflict lies here. So now I have to be able to merge and confirm or commit. And then we'll close here. We'll go ahead and click yes if we're satisfied with the modifications. We click yes. And there you see the conflict that shows here. What's really cool about this is the Git easily looks at both and notices right away if there's conflict. If so, then you click here, choose Modification Conflict, you get to see the split and decide what your preference is. Developer 1 and the modifications there. If you're satisfied, then you pick the option, and then you redo here, or reapply here. And then this allows me to choose the modification to pull the necessary one that I want. And notice on the lower part of the screen, the green shows the resolution. Now the second one does not show the modification yet. It still has to override, as you see here. Once that's taken place and the modifications are approved, if they aren't, then I can go ahead and modify it on my own here and add the necessary modifications so that, if I wanted to, mind you. But you also, I want to caution you, have to be careful that there is a possibility that if you're not checking the vid, the vid will cause an error and you won't be able to complete it until you check that. Once you've done that, then you go ahead and click commit. Make sure there's no conflict. If there's no conflict, then you check the box. Close it, because you know it's been resolved, and then you can proceed with the merge and confirm and commit to that. Once you've merged and you've hit confirmation, Turtle will automatically show you the files and where there may be conflict, hoping that they may be a message that will show where the conflicts are and the modifications. Sometimes in the development process, you're trying to figure out all the modifications, and you have to really search and look for the history in order to find where exactly the modifications are taking place to resolve them. Yeah, right, honey.
Yeah.
Once you resolve the conflict, you hit commit and push. There's a warning there because it's an automatic message that just comes up. Just ignore that because you want to leave that and have it automatically continue to run the files with the conflict source. Right. Okay? Great. Don't let me forget to caution you about the modifications. Look at the source here. We go back to this. You notice there hasn't been any modifications there. So we have to input that information once again. Now we're modifications, notice 1 and 2.
Right.
And developer 1. And I have to be responsible to make sure that the pull has taken place and that new information has been stored. So let me demonstrate that right here. There's the source, there's the pull. But let me just show you in the log form.
History. I'll look at the history.
Notice the history. It doesn't show it yet, mind you. But we hope the information is stored there and it's accurate. So yes, pull. Go ahead and click pull. Now notice the history. Now notice the history of the development, the first modifications prior to the conflict. See there, the history there? Wait a minute. I can't see anything from this left. See the comparatives there? Now, the development of 2, and hopefully we'll see the merging and the modifications. And let's say you're not happy with maybe what you're seeing on the screen, and you decide, okay, you need to make some continued modifications. You go ahead and make those modifications, and you don't want them any longer. Then you go ahead and delete them, like so. And once I delete that, I have to remember 2 different things. That I have to go in the first file, and then in the extraction, the X file, and remove both. And edit. If you go ahead and click here, watch this. If I decide I want to delete something, in Access where it's building, you don't have to use this. You can use the second one here.
And that's OASIS.
And that's in the OASIS file. And make sure that once you've eliminated the deletion, that you go back here. Right, exactly. Good, you're following along. So you remove both from the files, and then you have to commit that you're removing it. And then, of course, push as well. Go back to Developer 2. And after you modify, you got to do the pull
To catch both up.
so that they catch up with one another in the history. And it's important in the beginning when you first start working that you've got to remember to do the pull so that it catches up with itself. You can't just leave it till it goes off to a branch of and a whole other file. So if there's no pulling, later on you'll find yourself in conflict and much more work ahead of you. So I encourage you when you're using OASIS to continually confirm and commit so you resolve a lot of the issues that you don't run into a huge branch going every which way in every direction. It'll save you a whole lot of work time. And are you still there, David? Or have you removed it? Because in OASIS it will remove it. But look again. Let me show you. Yeah?
I think it was device. Something device, but I don't know. Well, fine.
Okay, it doesn't have text.
It's still an object.
It's still in an object form. So what you do
Import.
is import. If you see it looks like trash left on the page and there is an inquiry there about that, if you click here, it does a quick comparative. If it's not there, it won't proceed, and you will have to delete that before you can continue. Good, okay. Yes, right, that's deleted. I know it seems like it's complicated as we continue further along, but Access itself has all of
The object.
the objects in the two places, in my local as well as Access in the object. And they will catch up with one another. The latter is just further along, if you will. It's like, if you will, the paternal part of the file. The big pop-up. I know I'm giving you a lot of information, but the goal is, in regard to Git, is that you have a historical source that you can modify. Again, let me demonstrate and show you here.
You let me know when you want to switch.
So it shows you the information that the developer of 1 and 2, and at the same time you're thinking later, perhaps I'm having a change of thought and I want to make some changes. Then I go back to the beginning, watch this. refine revert.
Mm-mm.
It'll show up here. The file will show up in revert. And notice, take a look at what it looks like here visually on the screen. Then we go ahead. It's very easy to go back to the beginning. You don't have to worry about what's going on behind the scene because it's catching up and you're having to think, what about my modifications? You just go ahead and do the modification.
It's in the history.
And the history will take care of itself. You just do the necessary modifications, even though you're wondering, okay, wait a minute, I wonder if it's still there. What about this other conflict I had over here? There's still a zip file that you saved that's working in the background for access to that file. So the information that you're modifying, or if you want to change the file and the work you've done and you're thinking, oh my gosh, that was 6 months ago, I can't even imagine where I'm going to find that. Where have I placed that? The zip file will show that. And if you need me to demonstrate it again, or if you're having any questions, this is a good place to ask, right here.
Okay. So I know we've kind of just scratched the surface. We still have a lot more to go about Git. And there's articles and things like that that we have. There's company, there's blogs, there's articles and journals you can read about that. And I will add more to all of that. And so once with all the articles and all of the things that we have, the different documents that we can read about that. So we've really just scratched the surface. But I feel like as we start, we go ahead, we'll progress, and we'll learn more along the way. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to email me anytime. Contact me or leave a comment on the post. You can blog that, and then I will answer that. Hope you all have a wonderful night.